Phil Phails. Whoa, Phil Phails. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today I'm joined by Mamata Misra. She is a certified MBSR teacher. You want to wave to everybody? They're in these cameras. MBSR is the mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's what would you call it? It's a format or a system.
I would call it a course or a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's a course or program.
eight-week program.
And it was designed by Jon Kabat-Zinn
Right,
to help folks with stress, reducing stress.
right.
So today, Phil fails at stress.
Great.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the mindfulness-based stress reduction system or program. We're also going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about probably mindfulness.
hmm
What else do you think? What other topics do you think surround this discussion?
I think the main thing is to understand where stress is coming from. And that's what we develop in this course, that understanding. And it develops in a natural way. It consists of many practices we do, and it's a very experiential, practice-based program. And there is a curriculum we follow, but it's very much dependent on the people who are taking it and their experience, where they are at, and what they get out of it. So it's not like you do this and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's more like exploration. You try this and see if it works for you.
And I have tried it. I've have the certification or whatever you get when you've completed the 8-week course. I did the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction about, I don't know, it was probably maybe eight or 10 years ago.
Okay.
I had a really challenging time in my life. I think it was around 2014, so it must have been around 10 years ago.
Okay.
I had some real challenges and kind of like I don't know if you call it a breakdown or just some real existential crisis. And the MBSR was one of the things I invited into my life to find my way.
Uh-huh. So did it help you?
Oh, yeah. It was the beginning of a meditation practice for me.
Yeah.
It was also a way of understanding my mindset, the way I thought about my experience.
Uh-huh.
I learned a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the system. If it's still the same when I did it, it was for 8 weeks, you would meditate for 45 minutes a day.
Right.
And you would also set aside a couple hours a week for more didactic, like lesson time, where you learn certain things, or you'd read articles and digest them.
The way I have done it is you meet with the class once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a long class, 2.5 hours long,
Yeah.
and you practice for about an hour in class,
Mm-hmm.
where the teacher guides you with the practice. There are different kinds of practices you do. And then the other half of the time, there are activities, small groups, large group discussions about what happened in your practice. And in that process, you learn. So, and then you get home practice
Mm-hmm.
to do. You have to set aside at least 45 minutes, 5 days a week to
Yeah.
do it on your own. But you would be provided with records guided to guide you. So you can just play the record audio recordings and just do it on your own at home. So that's kind of how it works. 8 classes like that. But there is also one class which is a all-day class. It's a 7-hour class.
Yeah.
And so that happens between the 6th and 7th class. So by class 6, participants have learned all the different kinds of practices and the small elements of each practice.
Mm.
And so they have a whole day in silence. A little bit, I try to find a quiet place and access to nature, so they can do walking meditation
Yeah.
also. So basically, they are silent and they do all the practices one after the other, alternating between stillness and movement. So
Yeah.
it's like half an hour to 45 minutes sit, half an hour to 45-minute move
Yeah.
all day.
And when you say practice, these are meditation types of meditation,
Yeah.
whether it's a metta or a loving kindness meditation or a body scan
Yeah.
or a focus on the breath
Right.
or noting where thoughts come and go and you note them and then release them. And there's a bunch of these practices within the context of meditation.
That's right. I mean, you can call them meditation, but we also do movements. So basically, there are 4 sequenced guided recordings that we do. Body scan,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a yoga movement sequence that you do lying down.
Mm.
There is a yoga movement sequence you do standing. Then we also do eating meditation, mindful eating.
Oh yeah, I've watched.
Remember that?
I know that from. Remember doing that. We ate a raisin.
Right.
You eat a raisin for like 30 minutes or like a long time. I also remember the Thich Nhat Hanh book, Savor, I think is his book about mindful eating.
Yeah. And then, so we do all this, and then slowly the last thing we do is the whole 45-minute sit. But along the line, people have been at home doing elements of that. Basically, how to get grounded, how to get anchored, and I'll talk about what anchored means.
Yeah.
So they have been practicing all of that. And then by class 5, we do the whole sitting, paying attention to the mind. But first, we work on the body. That's why we do the body scan and the mindful movements for the first 4 weeks with breath awareness and trying with different anchors, sounds, neutral parts of the body, like your hands,
Yeah.
anything that will help you to come to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we do those. And then class 6, we do a whole session devoted to mindful speech and listening, because a lot of people have their stress coming from their habitual communication patterns, either in family or at work. So we have a whole class devoted to just that.
Communication.
Mindful communication. Although in every class we do mindful communication. The
Yeah.
whole 2.5 hours is just seamless mindfulness. Moving, whatever you do it mindfully. So that's why we do all that. And then mindful walking, that's also a mindful movement. A lot of kindness and self-care is built into it, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We do the loving kindness practice at the retreat, because that's not something that's given as a home practice in the curriculum. All these other 4 are given. In the retreat, we do all those, and we add the metta practice, loving kindness practice, and also there is another one we do called mountain. Did you all do that?
I think we did mountain.
Mountain, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more about, to me, it's about equanimity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How to be okay with whatever happens.
Yeah. To be okay, to accept the present moment as it
Yeah.
is without
Yeah.
aversion or attachment
Yeah.
or grasping.
Right. So all of that works, and it works in a step by step. So talking about the class format,
Mm-hmm.
So first class, we build trust
Yeah.
with the group, because all these strangers are coming together. They don't know each one. Are they going to open up with one another? So
Yeah.
trust building. We do a class agreement together.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody says what is their need, and how do we honor that. So we do that. First, in class 1, we do body scan and the raisin eating.
Yeah.
Raisin eating is really good because it explains what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
To do to eat with all your 5 senses, but
Yeah.
one at a time.
Yeah. You take it and you roll the raisin in your finger, and
Right.
you
First look at it.
you look at it.
And
Notice all the
so,
wrinkles in the raisin and you do.
Yeah.
Smell it.
Yeah.
Roll it around.
And
Hear it. What does
hearing.
it sound like?
Has anyone ever heard a raisin?
Yeah.
But some people get surprised. Oh, I can hear something. Some people cannot, and some people can.
Yeah.
So
We invite all 5 senses into the present moment and into our awareness,
Yeah.
our awareness of what's present.
Right. And also what is there that is not visible.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in the mind element. So what's in the raisin that you can't see, hear, smell, taste,
Yeah.
and touch? And then people come up with answer. Oh, we can't see the whole agricultural process.
The universe is in that raisin.
Right.
It was a grape.
Yeah.
It was a seed.
Right.
It was soil.
Yeah.
It was a farmer's dream of, farming. It was
all of that.
Maybe under the water at some point. Texas was all over underwater at some point.
Right.
And then in the future, it's like you can go either forward or backward with this raisin and see the universe.
Right. So all of that, and then I tell them in the class that, okay, so we took however minutes, 15 minutes to eat a raisin. At home. You don't have to eat every bite taking 15 minutes. You can't do anything else. But you can invite all your senses to your eating.
Yeah.
And do it exactly at the same time, but pay attention to what you're eating,
where it came from,
and the smell, the taste, the sound, the sound of chewing. Yeah. And a lot of things are bad manner here. My children always reminded me, eat with your mouth closed.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't hear yourself chewing. So of course you will have your table manners and all that, but you can still invite all your senses to your eating.
You increase the fidelity of the experience. You say, I'm going to enrich. It's enriching.
Yeah.
It's like an enrichment of saying, I'm gonna crank up the volume on this meal with just the smell. Let me just
Yeah,
be with the smell for a second.
right.
Let me be with what does this look like? You're just
Yeah,
it's a feast for all the senses.
right. And then people uh, report, oh, eating is much more meaningful.
Yeah.
I don't need to turn the TV on anymore when I'm eating.
Yeah. Well, you've got this episode of lasagna or this episode of your entertainment is this
Right.
feast.
Yeah. So same way, body scan. We have been living far away from our bodies.
Yeah.
We are living in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when we start the body scan, we start from the toes,
Yep.
one toe, one big toe.
Mm-hmm.
And, so sometimes people have difficulty. Where is my toe? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not about visualizing. It's not like you are up there and looking down at the image of your body. It's not that. It's feeling the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so people say, I can't feel anything. And then that's okay, but wiggle your toes, they'll tell you where they are.
Yeah.
And then take your attention there
To the
and
wiggle.
to the wiggle,
Yeah.
and then keep it still after the wiggling is over, after you know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, either you feel something or you don't feel anything. But it's about listening to the body's signal,
Yeah.
which we did somewhere. Our ancestors did when we were, living in the trees or caves or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we only live in our mind, we forget about the body. But there's so much wisdom in the body.
Yeah.
So connecting with the wisdom of the body, so many signals are coming. And that's the beginning, because, what is stress anyway? Is it just in your mind, or does it show up in your body?
Yeah.
So unless you learn to listen to your body, you will miss the signals of stress. So that's where we start.
Yeah.
So body scan, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
And then being aware of the breath, the anchoring. So that's the other thing. The body is always in the present moment.
Yeah.
The mind goes to the past, goes to the future,
Yeah.
and the body is right here,
Yeah.
telling
We're
you
right here.
what's happening right now.
Right now.
And then there is this. So there are all these different components. One is paying attention to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then it has to be intentional.
Yeah, with intention.
With intention. So this is a class for adults. It's not a class for children. And a lot of times children do things because adults tell them, do this, don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But for adults, it has to be intentional. So unless your intention is there, you won't get it. Your mind will go somewhere else. But if your intention is strong enough, it will help you to stay still or move or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's a big, big part of it. To really, really take your intention into your bones, really deep intention. And that will carry you through. When people say meditation is hard.
Yeah.
And the third component, very, very important, is the non-judgment.
Non-judgmental stance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so how do you become non-judgmental? People will say that I can't do that. Judgments are coming all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this. This is too hard. And all those things are coming. So how do I become non-judgmental all of a sudden?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to. You see what will help to be non-judgmental. So bring in curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
bring in kindness,
Mm-hmm.
So when we are judgmental, we are too hard.
Yeah.
So softening about it.
Or
Uh,
rigid. There's a rigidness with judgment.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
quick and it
Yeah,
closes the world down.
right.
It,
Right.
it's the
So
murder of curiosity and open-mindedness and
exactly.
exploration.
Exactly. So there won't be any room for judgment if you have curiosity and kindness.
Yeah.
So judgment would fall. So judgment will come because of habit, but then you become non-judgmental toward the judgment.
It's interesting. This program isn't for children, yet it seems like it's inviting a childlike
Exactly, exactly.
orientation to
Yeah.
things.
You
Be
can call
curious,
you
play.
you can call it childlike. So that's the thing. We were all curious.
Yeah.
That's how we started.
Before we knew.
Before we became, cultured,
Yeah.
quote unquote, then all the shoulds and shouldn'ts
Yeah.
were defined for us. So we all our curiosity went away. Um, so one way to look at it is be like a child. The other way to look at it would be a scientist,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
explore, experiment, see if it works.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's not this way or that way. Is it? You find out.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about MBSR and John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn is the founder of MBSR.
Yeah,
He,
designer. Yeah.
the designer. He's one of the, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the. There was a time in America's history when some folks went to the East
Mm-hmm.
and discovered, or they didn't
Yeah.
discover it. It was there.
Right.
They harvested this technology, this
Yeah.
Buddhism. It's a part of a couple different
Right.
Hinduism, and they brought that back to America. And John Kabat-Zinn is one of them.
So I'm not sure if John went east or he learned in the United States from um, Eastern monks.
Okay.
He may have done that. Um, the founders of the Insight Meditation Society went east, spent many years in monasteries
Mm-hmm.
in different places, and then they came back and experimented, maybe modified it a little bit to make it more easier for the Western body
Yeah.
and the modern times, but they retained the gist of it, the basic teaching. So that's so you're thinking probably about the founders of the Insight Meditation
Mm-hmm.
Society, and but I'm not sure if John Kabat-Zinn went east or he learned. But what I do know is that when he was doing his PhD at MIT, he had already learned how to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
and he had found out that it was helping him to go through the stress of grad school. And then he got his PhD and he joined UMass Medical School.
Mm-hmm.
John was a molecular biologist, not a physician, but his friends were. So one day he asked his friends, um, do we, Western medicine, cure chronic pain and mental health problems, things that really make people suffer?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a cure for it right now? And I'm talking about 70s, maybe late 70s. And the answer was yes and no. Yes, they do get better to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
No, because it's not a cure, because many of them come back after some time. So some people feel better and they can manage. Some people come back, and when they do come back, a lot of times we increase the dose.
Yeah.
Okay, so John said, I have an idea. We're all scientists, can we do an experiment? And the experiment would be, you do whatever you do, the medicine therapy, but give them the option to come meditate with me. And we'll just see. And we will do a control group, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how the experiment started. And all the doctor friends supported John's efforts. Said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so it started, and the results were amazing. It's not what most physicians had expected. Basically, they found two things. One is that there were more people in the meditating group that said that they felt better and uh, they can manage on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't come back. Then there were others who did come back, but among the people who did come back, the the duration, the time frame after which they came back, that time frame was longer than in the group that was not meditating.
So in the meditating group, they either didn't come back at all or it took them a longer time before they came back. Is that
Right.
called recidivism?
Is
Something
recidivism
like
that
that.
in prisons it's called? I don't know what it's called for
Oh, yeah, that's in
patients.
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
they either
yeah.
were cured,
Yeah.
their
Or they thought they were
orientation or the
right.
relationship with their ailment had dissipated so that they didn't need any more help,
Yeah.
or it took a long time, a longer time than the control group where they were just probably treating them with drugs
Yeah.
or surgeries or something.
Right. Yeah. So that encouraged all the physicians who were telling their patients. So they said, okay, this is a good thing. Let's continue the research, and more doctors started referring them to the program, and this was the program that John had started at UMass Medical School, and I think there was almost a group of 5,000 doctors who were referring their patients that you have this option to try. And then John was teaching them alone. And then he said, no, this is big.
Yeah.
This has so much potential.
Yeah.
So this is really a great public health initiative, and it should be grown and made bigger. So then they started the teacher training program. And let's get more teachers to be trained and be able to teach this.
Yeah.
So so that's how it came about. And then now, there are thousands and thousands of teachers all around the world
Yeah.
teaching the same course. Some of the things have changed. The curriculum is more or less the same. Um, we follow the curriculum, yet we also bring in our own practice, our
Mhm.
own experience,
Yeah.
even even our own background.
Yeah.
Because we are all different. So the way of teaching can be different, and the way of teaching could also depend on the group
Yeah.
because they also are contributing to it.
Yeah.
So it's like the curriculum is like if I can use a metaphor of a river. So if the curriculum is like the riverbed and the banks, uh, but the water that flows is the people.
Yeah. And it changes the
It
bank. It
changes.
changes
It
the
changes. Yeah.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the how much water and
Right.
its force.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
there's things in the water like
Yeah.
limbs or
All of it, all of
rocks.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What falls on the river,
Yeah.
whether there is more rain, less rain, flooding.
Yeah. And you're one of these teachers.
I am one of these teachers, part of this huge world community.
Yeah. How long have you been teaching MBSR? When did you get your certificate?
I uh so it works in two steps. Two steps. First, you go through the training that takes like a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you get qualified to teach,
Mm.
and then you start teaching.
Yeah.
And then after you have taught so many courses, then you go through another phase where you work through a master teacher, a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and someone with whom you can discuss, what is going easy for you, what's
Mm-hmm.
hard, and sort of try to improve your teaching. And then you go through an assessment with another teacher who would actually look at your videos
Mm-hmm.
and, uh, uh, so that's the certification
Yeah.
process. So it takes a while. So I believe I got qualified to teach in 2016. I started on my path in 2014, around the same time you did.
Yeah.
You took MBSR.
Yeah.
And then initially I wasn't sure. I was thinking, see, what attracted me to this program is that it was a true combination of the um, Eastern philosophy, Eastern psychology, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
Eastern wisdom, and the Western science and Western medicine.
Yeah.
So, so they called it complementary medicine, not alternative medicine. There are alternative medicines, like people would do this or that.
Yeah.
I know I
This
have
is
friends who would never take Western medicine or allopathic medicine. They would treat themselves with homeopathy
mm-hmm.
or naturopathy, something alternative. Or there are friends who would only take Chinese medicine, but
Mm-hmm.
not this. Some people I know who would only take Ayurvedic medicine, which is, very Indian, ancient, another system. But this was developed in the modern times, in the um, in a modern medical school. So it has the stamp of the medical school. Doctors are sending their patients, yet it has the Eastern wisdom all encapsulated inside the curriculum. And this secular part of it attracted me because, meditation is taught in so many religious, spiritual, organizational settings.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done that before. But then that restricts to a certain class of people who feel they belong there
Yeah.
and they'll go there. But if it's secular, it's like public school. Everybody can go there.
Yeah.
Anybody can go
Some
there.
people say that John Kabat-Zinn took the Buddhism out of meditation, or took the religion. That's what when you say secular,
Yeah,
you
the
mean there's no
the
religious
ceremonial
dogma.
things
Yeah.
are gone. You know,
There's no
I mean,
chanting. There's
Buddhist, the way Buddha taught it, it wasn't really a religion, right?
yeah.
He just went to find the answer to suffering. He never talked about God.
Yeah. And
You know,
you could even see Buddhism as a complementary
exactly.
um
If people asked him, big questions, he said, "I don't know anything other than what I have experienced."
yeah, experience is my teacher,
Yeah.
and I will
And
share that with you.
I'll share that with you, but you have to experience it
Yeah.
yourself to know. So that part was retained,
Yeah.
So the essence was always retained within MBSR.
Mm-hmm.
So the wisdom wasn't lost, the method wasn't lost,
No.
but it got the validation from the medical community.
Yeah.
So it became more accessible. And so that's what attracted me to this.
Talk to me a little bit about your background, your experience in
Okay.
meditation, in the mindfulness community. I know you've done retreats and been a part of different communities.
Right.
Where did you do the MBSR certification? Was that at UMass?
So started with UMass. I qualified at UMass, and then what year was that? When the teacher training program within the medical school, it was called, so there were two things going on in the medical school UMass. There was the stress clinic that John Kabat-Zinn had started. Then there was the teacher training center
Mm-hmm.
that was training teachers. So around COVID time, I think. I think maybe a little bit before that. Before that, 2017, something like that. I was qualified in 2016, and then around 2017, 2018, the UMass Medical School, some of the teachers started moving to Brown University, where a new mindfulness center opened.
Mm-hmm.
And many of my teachers moved there. So, and then the medical center, UMass Medical Center's teacher training, the whole center, mindfulness center, closed.
Mm.
And the Brown University, which had all my teachers by then, they opened it, saying that those of you who started there and but haven't finished, you can come to us and we will walk you through
Yeah, the remainder of your.
the remainder. So I finished there. So I got certified there by the same teachers, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
And then what's your other experience with mindfulness, insight? I think you said you've been to different.
Retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as part of your teacher training, um, you have to do a lot of retreats. So it's like, that's why it takes so long. It's not just like, taking the MBSR course is the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this is a little bit, I don't know why they think it this way. Sometimes people come to me and say that, oh, if I take your course, then would you certify me so I can teach it?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like, if I pass high school, can I teach high school? Right?
Yeah.
You have to go through the teacher training, right?
Right.
And it takes time. So, but specifically in MBSR, you have to teach it from your embodiment in the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And to be embodied in your practice, you have to practice a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you go to these retreats
Yeah.
where you can practice for long times, many days, multiple days.
Yeah.
So then when I thought about retreat, I asked my friend Gita, with whom I had done the first MBSR in Austin. I have actually taken it twice with her, the 8-week program, before I became a teacher.
Yeah.
So she said that, yeah, if you're going to take a retreat, take it with one of the founders of the Insight Meditation Society. So she said you can take it with Jack Cornfield, Joseph Goldstein.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my first retreat with Jack Cornfield, and that was just amazing.
At Spirit Rock.
At Spirit Rock, yeah. And that was really amazing. And I almost fell in love with Spirit Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, something about that whole beautiful Have you been there?
I haven't been.
Yeah, it's really located. There are these mountains and trails and animals, birds.
It's north of San Francisco, right?
It's kind of northwest. Um, there is a road that goes to Point Reyes from 101
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the west, and it's somewhere in the middle there. Um, Sir Francis Dick. What is the name of the? It's a long name.
You
Of
fell in love though with
I
Spirit
fell
Rock.
in love with that whole, the whole setup. The people were so kind, and Jack was wonderful. He helped me a lot. So that, and then next year I did one. I thought, it would be nice to do a retreat with each of the founders
Yeah.
because people get old, they retire. I wanted to, I wanted to,
Experience their
experience
wisdom,
their
yeah, in
wisdom
person.
before
Yeah.
it's late. So the next year I did it with Joseph Goldstein.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of repeated, I made it a point to go once a year to Spirit Rock. And I did it at least 10 days, 9, 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly I increased the time. The longest I've done is 18 days. I haven't done a month long yet. I'd applied to one, didn't get in. It was one of those lottery things.
Yeah.
And so that has been my experience. So what happens is, so there are two things you do. You practice on concentration, on your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that for some time sort of calms you down. And then you open up your awareness to include everything.
Yeah.
So after being well concentrated and anchored, grounded, when you open up, um, it depends, but when you are least expecting, some insight would just pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And it would always be related to your own context, so that it'll mean something to you. It may not, it will be something different for different people. But, something you really haven't thought about or done any reading, scholarly reading or anything like that, and it would just pop up,
You'll get
you're
an
wondering.
insight.
Yeah, just an insight. Then that's why it's called an insight.
Insight.
Yeah. But the thing is that it doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
So one shouldn't be disappointed if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
If the conditions are right, then it'll happen. It's all dependent on so many other things. The first time I went, I was crying the whole time. Really. I mean, I had lost my father not long before that. And I don't know if I had a lot of grief inside me that needed to come out. And then it was such a beautiful, peaceful surrounding. And I was crying, and I didn't know if I was crying out of sadness or happiness. I really didn't know. It was such a weird mixture. And I told Jack, I said, I don't know if I'm crying because I'm happy or I'm sad. And Jack said something like, you know, there is, in other cultures, there is a word that it can be either or, it can be anything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter why you are crying, but where do you feel it? And, so he had his way of taking me back to my body.
Yeah. Instead
That
of interpreting the
instead of
emotion,
interpreting,
be with the emotion.
exactly, the why is not important.
Yeah.
What is happening now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that emotion
Yeah.
there? What are you feeling
Right.
in your body?
Yeah.
And
And then the other thing that has happened to me is that, when you are meditating, all these elements come in. You may feel hot or cold, or you may, feel light or heavy. There was a time when it was like my bottom part of my body was heavy like a rock,
mm-hmm.
and the top part of my body was so light, and I was kind of, part of me was wanting to fly, and part of me was stuck to the ground.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jack about it, and he would again bring me back to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say that, okay, so where are you feeling it? And so then he said that, how big is it? What's the area what's the shape of it?
What color is it? Yeah, all
Yeah,
those
all,
things.
all those things. And then he would say, so can you go to the outside of it, or the edge of it,
Yeah.
you know? And can you find a place that's neutral, you know? So all of those things have helped me to, find but once he took me through that, and then after that, somehow I never had that. So I didn't know, maybe I was trying too hard. You know, I was new, it was my first retreat.
He was leading you back to your body.
He was leading me back to my body to let the body's wisdom take care of
Yeah,
me.
we talked earlier about uh, a preference for our mind now.
Yeah,
We're thinking so
exactly,
much, and the
exactly.
thinking's in the past or in the future,
Yeah.
interpreting, judgment.
And even when it's in the present, it's the head trying to interpret it,
Yeah,
eh, you know,
making sense of things
making
instead of
sense of
just
things.
being with.
Yeah. And then at some point when that happened, you know, the top person trying to fly and the bottom person is heavy like a rock. And then some sort of fear, I think, came.
Hmm.
And Jack was trying to point me very gently to that, and guiding me to feel where I'm feeling the fear in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helped. And then it never came. It never came after that. And then other kinds of things that I have experienced is that, you know, uh, so sometimes you just go to the retreat thinking that, okay, I'm leaving all my problems behind. I'm going to have a great time there. And then you go there and you notice that your problems have come with you. So,
They stowaways on your
yeah.
luggage.
Exactly. So I was thinking, before I went there, I think the day before we were talking about somebody who was making other people's life harder. It happens. We are all human. So,
Yeah.
so I was thinking about that, and then I went to the retreat, and all of a sudden I noticed that, oh, I was thinking about this person, and then I said, oh, I thought I left you there. But you are here. And then the thing, okay, if you're here, you can have a seat. But I am in the retreat, you can have a seat, but I'm in the retreat.
Yeah.
So, these kinds of things, tiny, in small ways, you could see how the teaching and your practice together are helping you
Yeah.
deal with small things,
Letting go.
letting go, letting be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to let be before it would let go.
Yeah, let be. Yeah,
So,
being with something,
yeah,
just like those things that never came again. You gave them your attention, your awareness,
yeah,
and then you're able to release them because you were able to hold space for them.
right, right. And then in the later retreats, again, wonderful insights have come. Again, they are in the context of, I grew up not as a Buddhist, but as a Hindu.
Mm-hmm.
And my previous um, study or practice, or contemplative practice, I would say, had been more in the Vedantic tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So going to different teachers who teach in that tradition. Um, so there are similarities between Buddhist ideas and Vedantic ideas. There are also misunderstandings, debates for,
Yeah.
hundreds and thousands of years. One thing that had always puzzled me was Buddhists talk about emptiness,
And the
and
emptiness of emptiness. Yeah.
Vedantins talk about wholeness, fullness.
It's
Okay,
almost the opposite.
yeah, opposite. And then in the retreats I have gone to, I have been able to bring these two concepts together. It depends on the perspective from which you look at. And then even in MBSR, it's such a small course, just two months,
Yeah.
but you can learn so much
Yeah.
uh, and apply it. And my job is just to facilitate that process.
Yeah.
It's not like uh, I have wisdom that I would give anybody. It's that everybody has the wisdom, and I kind of try to see how they can open their own pathway to access that.
Yeah.
So all of these things, I think I learned by practicing, and spending so much time at the retreats. Um, that would not have happened without going to those
Yeah.
retreats.
You needed those
I
contemplative
needed
moments
that.
and those teachers,
Yeah,
the connection to the teachers to
exactly.
give you um,
Yeah,
a roadmap to insights, a
exactly.
way to
Yeah,
think through your experience.
yeah. And then that, and I have gone to. So Jack had always said, go to different teachers.
Who are the teachers that you've gone to in your life?
I have taken courses from Jack and Joseph, I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, there would be there would be, in this multi-day retreats, there would be multiple teachers.
Right.
So usually there would be one person whose name comes first.
Yeah, kind of like at a big
Yeah,
festival, like a
right.
concert. You have like the Red Hot Chili
Yeah,
Peppers, and that's
but
being
they
Jack
but they
Cornfield.
all act like equals.
Yeah.
But you can see. Uh, so then lately, I have done courses with Guy and Jill Armstrongs,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then Philip Moffat
Mm-hmm.
and Tweri Sala. So a lot of different teachers.
Yeah.
I'm in a year-long online program with Tweri and Brian something. I'm nowadays I forget names a lot.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Uh, so this online one is interesting. Again, it's based on a book on emptiness. Actually, the course is on emptiness. So emptiness still, um, I still want to understand it more.
Yeah.
What it's about, because so there are these Buddhist concepts: impermanence,
Yeah.
everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that in MBSR. Okay, so you feel this itch. Okay, so what happens if you don't do anything?
Yeah. Let it
Right?
rise and fall.
And then you see that, yeah, it rises and falls.
That's what I found
Change.
when I first started meditating.
Yeah,
I would notice my whole body would almost itch. There'd be like different itches would pop up, and
yeah,
it can be really challenging to let those itches rise and fall.
yeah. So you start with that, and then in MBSR we would focus. First day we would do that, and second week we focus on what is pleasant.
What is pleasant?
What is pleasant? How do you know that it's pleasant? How do you feel it? And then how do you react to it? Does it stay pleasant all the time?
Yeah.
What happens when it goes away?
Yeah.
So do you want more of it? Are there two kinds of pleasant? Ones that you want more of it and ones that you are able to let go of?
Hmm.
So what are those? And
Yeah.
people would say, "Oh, I watched this beautiful flower or beautiful sunset." Yeah, when you see a beautiful sunset, you don't grab the sun, please stay.
Yeah. It's pleasant
It's
because of
pleasant.
its
The
scarcity.
oh,
It only
yeah,
happens for that moment.
yeah, and you want
You've
to.
been there.
You've been there,
You're
and the
present.
experience stays with you.
Yeah.
So we talk about those kinds of things. So that's how we go into this grasping and clinging.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about our perception before we go into the pleasant. Say how the perception, how you perceive something, plays into your stress. What you see and what you miss. So, and in MBSR class, we read a lot of poems, a lot of stories, metaphors. So instead of making it there have been so many scientific studies on this, but instead of, making it a medical class where you present the papers or the
Mm-hmm.
results, it's not a conference type of class. It's more of a way how people can relate to it in their own life.
Yeah.
People can make sense of poetry. People can make sense of stories and metaphors. So we do that instead of, boring data and
Read this
graphs.
peer-reviewed
Yeah, exactly.
publication.
Look at this chart.
Oh my goodness.
We had to do that
Yeah.
to in our teacher training.
Yeah.
We had to read a lot of papers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask, I'll ask you the 5 questions about Phil Phails at Stress now.
Okay.
These are going to be questions, about stress and how, well, I'll just go through them.
Mm-hmm.
The first one would be, how would someone fail at stress?
Okay. The PHAIL fail.
Or the FAIL fail. Yeah. Either
So,
one.
so, and you have the other side of it, how one succeeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I
That's the second question.
can I take them together? Because
Yeah.
I think they're related.
So I'm asking both questions. Yeah. How
Yeah.
do you
And how you
succeed
fail.
and how do you fail? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think these terms, success and failure, they need some criteria, right? So, what are the criteria for success and what are the criteria for failure? When, say, you are taking an exam, you have a very precise criteria. If you get this many points, you pass. If you get less than that, you fail.
Mm-hmm.
But life isn't like that, right? Is it?
No.
Is there a test where somebody grades you, marks you? No, but we have our own perceptions of success and failure,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they are dependent on some value systems we have, either ingrained in us by society, by cultures, by what we have heard in our childhood, and we have somehow either questioning or not questioning, we have made them our own.
Yeah.
And that's what is defining success or failure, right? And it's usually based on something I have or not have, right? Some people may think that I will be successful if I'm rich, right? Some people may think that I'll be successful if I have a good family,
Mm-hmm.
right? So people have different criteria for their success or failure. Now, suppose your criteria is, as a scientist or as a child having fun, your criteria of success is to just try this.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's not dependent on the result. You may have a hypothesis.
It's kind of like science. Whether you get a positive or negative result, getting a result is the success.
Exactly.
That
Getting
you
the
got a
answer.
result. Yeah.
Getting the answer is the success. And then you can never fail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it depends on,
So maybe in this context, true failure would be not to ask the questions,
yeah, I
to
mean,
never experiment.
right. If you don't even try it, if you have made up your mind
Yeah.
before,
To be closed-minded.
yeah.
But to succeed is to
that's
ask the question and do an experiment and
right.
see.
Yeah.
Let experience be your
Whatever the
teacher.
result is you will always succeed.
The success.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to take these two together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just like in MBSR or in Buddhism, you take, gain or loss. So I talked about the pleasant, and then we go to the unpleasant, because the unpleasant, that will lead to stress, right? So that's how but if you are okay and you know that it's changing, it's not permanent anyway. So then, if your perception changes, everything changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, what came to mind was yin yang, this chaos order, and all these binaries: good, bad,
Yeah.
pleasant, unpleasant,
Exactly.
attachment,
Gain,
avoidance,
loss.
all these things. It seems like it makes sense now, the value of this middle way that's always spoken about.
Right.
I think it's Manyamaka.
Yeah.
This middle way, whether it's the Tao or in
Yeah.
Buddhism, the Buddha talked about the middle way.
Yeah.
This between these strong polarities,
Yeah.
attachment, aversion, all these things, finding a knife's edge across them. And in the context of success and failure, success seems to be experimenting with an open mind.
Right.
Giving your awareness to what comes out.
Yeah.
Kind of non-judgmentally, and just saying, now I know more about the world.
Yeah.
And the knowing more is the success.
Right.
Now I know what happens when I do that.
I know this.
I know this.
Yeah. This is what I wanted to find an answer to. And for right now, this is the answer.
Yeah.
It may change.
Because of impermanence, right?
Things may change. Conditions may change.
Yeah. And then failure would be to have that concrete mindset, the mind that doesn't do the experiment, the mind that is closed off to experience.
Yeah.
The mind that
then you'll never try. You'll never try. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
If you don't take the first step, you won't get anywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we did those two binaries. Question 3, what do you think, what are the benefits of stress?
Okay. So again, it's a continuum, right? So people talk about different zones we go through. So there's the comfort zone, where it's your teddy bear. Maybe you're something that's easy. You feel relaxed. It can be just your bed, sleep. It can be some of your practice, the calmness you feel after the practice. That could be something you like. So something that nourishes you. Okay, you feel good there. You can't stay there forever, right? Then human mind will get bored. Then you would step out and do something that you enjoy doing. And you do it often enough, you become good at it. And then you extend your circle, try something more. And that's in our regular life, that's the work you do, and you progress in your work. I mean, in corporate world, they'll say climbing the ladder, but even if you are a scientist, you're doing this experiment, then you go to the next one. So you have a path. It's you work hard, so there is some stress involved,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a good
It's
stress.
a good stress.
Yeah, it's called eustress, EU.
Eustress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eustress. And so that's good. And then but then every now and then be you will find yourself in a place where it's too much. It's
Overwhelm.
overwhelm. It's no longer good stress. And it happens when a lot of times it's not your own choosing.
Hmm.
Sometimes you find yourself, you're pushed there somehow
Yeah.
because of some external situations.
You have to do something you don't want to do.
You don't want some, you were not ready for it, let's say.
Yeah.
You were not ready for it and you were pushed there. So that's when the bad stress happens, right? Starts happening. But as long as you stay in the good stress, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the line is not a fixed one. You can increase it. Your zone can get bigger by your experience. I have done this, and then next let me try this.
Yeah.
So that's all good. You don't want to stay in your comfort zone all the time. So that's the benefit of stress.
Because you learn and
You
grow
learn and grow.
outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. It's a learning.
And in that zone, outside of comfort zone, is this eustress. This
Exactly.
area where
Before
you're
the overwhelm.
challenged. Yeah, you're challenged, but
Yeah. In a
your
good way.
relationship to it is
Yeah.
good. It's positive.
Positive. Yeah. But then when you go to the overwhelm, is that your fourth question?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you want to talk about overwhelm? We can make it the fourth question.
No. What's your fourth?
I don't know. We're making them up as we go along.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write
So, I
any
mean,
down.
okay. So, I mean, like, so if you talk about again, relating to MBSR, so then we talk about overwhelmed, because people come because they're overwhelmed. Life
Mhm.
is too much,
Mhm.
right? So okay, so you are in the overwhelm stage, and what are you feeling? Feeling bad. It's too much. So then there are two parts to it. One is because of the external situation, and the other is because of your resistance to it.
Mm.
So your thought is saying, I shouldn't be here, I'm no good, I can't handle it, this is too much. So all this internal thought that's happening, that is your secondary source. And that manifests in the body exactly the same way your primary overwhelm, which is coming from an external source,
Yeah.
is doing it.
So then you have the external source, and then you have your own almost mirror internal source that's now exponentially,
It's just going. So
increasing
you are caught in this loop.
of stress.
You feeling worse, and then all these negative thoughts come more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and then it also becomes a habit. So habit also has to do with it. So it becomes a habitual thinking pattern. So, but then if you do the practices, and during your practice, your meditation, whatever happens in your regular life will visit you during the meditation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like what happened to me at the retreats. And then if in your own controlled, positive environment that you have created to practice, your chances of being able to handle that with the tools you have is greater. But the other side of the coin is that if you can do it there, you can also do it in your real life. Because now you know that these are the tools I have. So you take those tools there. So you find yourself in the overwhelm zone. You can step back and use your tools, even if for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if for 1 minute, you stop and breathe. So
Yeah.
that takes care of it.
I remember STOP.
Yeah.
The STOP
The stop sign. Yeah.
acronym.
Stop and rain.
Yeah,
Rain
what
is the other one.
STOP. What is T? Remember there was
Yeah. Stop is just stop. T is take a deep breath.
take a deep breath.
Yeah. STO is observe.
Observe your surroundings. Yeah.
Observe
5 senses.
Yeah, observe what's happening in your body.
Oh, inside of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, because we only analyze, and so we go from analyzing in the head
Yeah.
to sensing it in the body.
So it's almost like our brain can manifest things
Exactly.
where they're
And
not
then
even
but
there.
the minute you come to the body, you're back in the present moment.
Yeah.
And you bring in your kindness and you take care of it. Okay, let me stay here. Take a few more deep breaths.
Yeah.
That'll do. Or you see, is it helping? Oh, yeah, because when I was thinking, not knowing, my breath had stopped.
Shallow breathing or yeah. Or
Exactly.
just holding your breath. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you're not giving your body what you need.
So you need to give your body the nourishment, the oxygen.
And
right?
that's O, observe.
Observe. And then P is the proceed.
Proceed.
Proceed in a way that'll help you.
A mindful way.
Mindful way that'll help you.
Yeah.
And what that is, your options will emerge for you. So there is no prescribed formula. A teacher will tell you, do this.
Mm-hmm.
You see what emerges for you, and options do emerge.
Yeah.
And so I love it in the middle of the class, kind of about midway, week 5 usually. For some people, it starts even early in week 4, but usually week 5. And people will say that, something happened last week that I hadn't expected. This happens, and, my, I don't know, my stepson or my stepdaughter does this, and then I do this, and then before we know, we have gotten into an argument, and then this, and, just the, whatever happens, your own family dynamics. But then yesterday, she did exactly what she does always. And I heard a voice in my mind, okay, she's just doing what she is, but I know better and I can do this. And then I was surprised. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Insight.
So
insight. So how the insight is dependent on your context.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed thing.
No. And but it takes that inner awareness, that kind of tuning into the body wisdom and having awareness that, you can make other choices.
Right. And then the scientists will tell you, they have seen that the prefrontal cortex of the brain is more developed, has more gray matter in the people who meditate. That is known. Scientists have found that. And the size of the amygdala, which is the reactive part of the brain, smaller.
What is the value of the gray matter? What does gray matter mean?
So that the prefrontal cortex is right behind our forehead, which humans do.
That's executive functions and
executive functions. A lot of, I think Dan Siegel mentions several of them, 9 of them or something. But there is one. A lot of these develop in our childhood, from the parent-child interactions. Again, love and kindness play into it. If an adult has been kind and loving to you, your chances of being loving and kind is more.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why people who have had very difficult childhoods have more difficulty growing up. So because, you get stuck in your patterns. And a lot of those people come to MBSR, people who have had childhood trauma. I make sure that you have a professional to deal with that, because I'm not a psychologist, I'm
Right.
not a doctor, I'm just a teacher.
Right.
So have somebody, have a therapist if you need, ready to help you. Um, but there is one element, the intuitive wisdom, that comes only through meditation. This is what Dan Siegel mentioned in one of his talks I had attended. So a lot of research is going on. I don't know everything. I haven't read any new papers. I read a lot of papers when I was working on my certification
Yeah.
qualification, but I'm not a scientist. I just teach. And so I'm not on top of that, but a lot more research is going on. Um, Again, people do research on different aspects of mindfulness. Does it help this? If you are working on a particular, if you say you are a particular kind of doctor, and then your chances are you'll do studies in your area.
Right.
So then so there have been so many different studies, do headaches get better with mindfulness? Does blood pressure,
ADHD. I looked at the
ADHD?
ADHD.
Yeah. I think I saw one of your programs on that.
Yeah.
So I mean, people have been doing research on different aspects, and at one point I had checked at UMass website. They were all over the place. I mean, so many different ailments. They had done research on different papers
Yeah.
that had published on it. So in general, there is known to be improvement. But then again, as a lay person, commonsensical way of thinking for me is that the body has wisdom to heal itself, right?
Mhm.
You have that paper cut,
Your body.
scratch,
Yeah.
it gets healed next day, right?
Right.
So we all know that from our own experience. Body heals itself. Body breathes itself. Do we ask it to breathe?
Yeah.
There's so much that happens by itself. But when we are worried and our negative thinking happens, we prevent the body from healing itself. We prevent the body from breathing. It's almost like we stand in its way.
Yeah, because when you have intense stress, your body starts to shut down certain functions in
Exactly.
order to give attention to this stress.
Yeah. And that's the evolutionary reaction that comes from the external situations.
Yeah, if you need to
The
run away from a
survival
lion,
instinct. Yeah.
yeah, that's like the most important thing now, but we don't
Exactly.
have lions chasing us.
We have paper tigers.
Yeah. There was that who was it that said in my life I've had many
Mark Twain.
yeah, Mark Twain said something. I'm paraphrasing. In my life I've had many catastrophes, and some of them actually happened.
Yeah.
In our mind we're fighting tigers, and we're
Right.
these catastrophes are always looming around the bend, and we're
Yeah.
worried about so many things that'll never
Exactly.
occur.
Yeah. And so that letting be, that's how it works.
Letting
You
be.
let the body heal itself.
Yeah.
So you get out of its way.
Yeah.
So John Kabat-Zinn says, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You are blocking your own door.
Yeah.
So that understanding comes through MBSR.
Yeah.
Because people say, you understand these two kinds of stress. Not just the good stress and the bad stress, but even in the bad stress, there are two kinds. The one that comes externally. So Buddha called it the two arrows.
Yeah.
The arrow that
Death by
somebody,
the
the hunter,
Tarot Brock does that whole
shot.
thing, death by the second arrow.
Yeah. So
Right.
the
The
second one
Buddha
is
talks about it too. Yeah.
yeah. So the Buddha talks in terms of arrows.
Yeah.
In those times, there were no guns.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a general, and he got shot by an
Yeah.
arrow.
So there was one that somebody else shoots you, and then there's the one that you shoot yourself.
Shoot yourself.
Right. And And the scientists call it the primary stress and the secondary stress, but it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything about the external
The
stress,
primary
the
stress.
primary stress, but do something about don't shoot yourself.
Right.
So by not shooting yourself, you come back from the overwhelm. You step back. You come back to the eustress.
Yeah.
It's challenging, and that's how your confidence also grows.
Right.
So you can do it.
And then you're giving your body what it needs to meet this challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
Whether it's a paper cut or
yeah.
whatever
And
it
that's
is.
why your kindness comes in.
Mm,
You be kind to yourself.
self-compassion.
Yeah, self-compassion, loving kindness.
Yeah.
Um, so all of that, whether you blame yourself or you blame someone else,
Yeah.
But if you take care of your anger, then none of that blaming will go away. It's coming from that some kind of delusion. And then there is the other element, and that's in the other tool called RAIN. And this is not part of the MBSR,
Mm-hmm.
but RAIN was, that tool was first talked about by Michelle McDonald, I think, a teacher who does retreats also. I've never been to her retreats, but attended some of her talks online. So anyway, RAIN has one extra element, and that relates to the non-self element of Buddhism.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, and so it's the non-identification. So take the I out of the equation.
Yeah.
Take the, you can pause and breathe. That gives you something. But you can just, even if your thoughts are coming, first check how many of those have personal pronouns in them.
Mm.
And then can you just change your language?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reframing.
Reframing.
What does RAIN stand for? It's an acronym, right?
Yeah.
What is
So
R?
R is recognize.
Recognize. So that's an awareness.
Yeah.
A.
I is investigate.
Oh, I. Investigate.
Yeah. And then N is called natural awareness
Mm.
that comes from not identifying.
Mm.
So say so and you can see how this is an element of the language.
Yeah, instead
We
of
are
saying
taught,
I am angry, you say I'm feeling anger.
or even take the I out, anger is here.
Anger's present.
Anger is present.
Yeah.
When think about the time when we were children, when before we had the I sense developed, there was still anger at times,
Yeah.
right? Don't the babies, push the
Yeah.
plate away when they're done,
Yeah.
when they're full? So it is there. I don't have to go and grab it, even in the language.
Yeah.
But we have been taught, active voice is the right thing to do, passive voice is weak,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So that is again part of our culture, part of our training. But if we can be wise and see that, oh, this isn't helping me, I is getting unnecessarily entangled where it need not be.
Yeah.
Right? Anger is here, whether it's my anger or not. Before the I went and grabbed it, and that helps with this grasping, clinging.
Yeah.
If you take the I out, if there is no I, who is going to cling?
Yeah.
Right?
It allows for an easier dissipation of whatever emotion's present.
Yeah. So there
If
is
there's
no
not identification, subjectivity.
right. So I ask people, so just change your language and see what happens. You don't have to buy into this concept of selflessness. Of course, there is a self. Of course, there is a stomach that needs food.
Yes.
And this is the way to do it.
Right.
And this hand is going to go do it. I mean, nowadays, this hand isn't. I learned to be left-handed after the fracture. So anyway, so that helps. But I'm sorry, I messed up your questions.
No, you're fine. You're perfect. Let's see. Fifth question. I don't have a fifth question. Let's see. What am I curious about with stress? Hmm. We've talked about the binary of success and failure. We've talked about benefits of stress and overwhelm.
Yeah.
Um,
We could talk a little bit maybe about the attitudes, kindness.
yeah, what kind of
We haven't done.
attitudes are there around stress?
Yeah.
The mind, I guess it's mindset.
Yeah, mindset.
Yeah.
So John Kabat-Zinn actually identifies nine attitudes, and I don't think I can name them. They're very similar actually, but I'll just name a few. And you already mentioned, and I think we have talked about it. The beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Or they say don't know mind.
Yep.
I don't know everything.
Not a master.
Yeah, I'm not a master,
The
but I'm
masters.
learning,
Yeah.
and learning is fun, right?
Yeah.
Learning is a lot of fun. So a teacher is always a student. I say that.
Yeah.
Teacher is a perpetual student. If I don't learn, I will cease to be a teacher.
Right.
Yeah. So, so that beginner's mind is very important. We talked about the curiosity, kindness,
Hmm.
non-judgment, letting be. So acceptance doesn't mean sour grapes. It's not oh, because I can't have it. It's not, there's no resentment in it.
Yeah, it's not
This
like,
is,
well, I'm just gonna not want that in a mean
yeah,
way. It's more of
no,
this is the
the,
way it is.
this is the way it is. It is here
Yeah.
anyway. And so whether I like it or not, it's still here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that nothing is permanent. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be always here. So for now, not forever, not for my whole life,
Yeah.
for now, let it be.
Let it be.
Yeah.
Byron Katie talked about do you know Byron Katie, have you heard of her? She wrote a book
Uh,
called Loving What Is, and she
okay.
talks a lot about, you know, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Believe it
Right.
and love it
Yeah.
and be it's kind of like letting it be.
Yeah.
Having a non-judgmental stance with it, or even the other side of a non-judgmental stance,
Yeah.
appreciating it
Yeah.
and loving it.
Yeah. And then the other element, again, we talk about it in MBSR, is our thinking mind believes in the thoughts.
Mm.
So, just because when you said believe it, it's here, believe it.
Hmm.
The other side of it could be this thought is here,
Mm.
don't believe it. It's just a thought.
It's just a thought.
Yeah. Just like the body, the itch comes and goes. In the
Thoughts come
mind,
and
just
go.
look, thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
And you don't have to believe in it.
Yeah. Which ones do we grab down and put and where?
Yeah.
Which of these thoughts, because we do have so many of them.
Yeah. And we have our preferences. So we pick and choose, right?
Well, some of them seem to match with our identity.
Yeah.
Oh, that one fits with who I think
Yeah.
that I am.
Right. And
Instead
then,
of
like when you want to prove your point, you can argue in any way.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So, but you can think about it and, have fun. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Laugh at yourself.
yeah,
If you don't believe every thought, you can have fun. Oh,
yeah,
that thought came. Oh, mind is cunning, right?
yeah. Goodness, it seems like our mind can be what's that saying? The mind is a good servant but a poor master.
Yeah,
Because if the mind says so many different things, and it's constantly interpreting and wanting to figure out this world, and it
exactly.
probably to help us,
Yeah,
but it's based on a past. It's
yeah,
based on history,
right.
and it can be not helpful at all,
Yeah,
especially if you've had trauma or had different types of
yeah,
experiences. It can create a really scary world.
right. And the fact that we are all growing, evolving beings.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably not the same person who walked in 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
right? You are probably not the same person.
We're never the same
We're
person.
never the same person.
What's that story that saying you mentioned earlier, the metaphor of the river
The river.
and the bank and
Yeah,
the side was the teachings and
yeah,
you and the students were the water, and that's that other saying that you never jump into the same river twice.
exactly,
And
exactly.
that's we are that river that's
Uh,
forever changed
yeah,
by every experience. We're something different.
yeah,
And I think the only thing that holds us back to a static sense of self is at times other people's view of us,
right,
calling us back into the past,
right.
calling
And
us
and we
back.
base our own views on that.
Yeah. So, well, I'll just be that. My mom talked to me like I was when I was 5, so I'll just be 5 for now,
Yeah,
instead of holding on to whatever's present for us and being now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just amazing the things we do without knowing. So the raisin eating,
Hmm.
somebody once said in my class that, when I was in kindergarten, my mom used to put this little raisin box in my lunch,
Hmm.
and I would eat it. It's an easy snack to eat, and and I have been doing that all my life because it's easy to eat and gives you something. But today is the first time I tasted a raisin, he said, and I didn't even like it.
I don't even
And
like
now
it.
I'm wondering why I'm eating this
Yeah.
all my life.
Mindlessly eating something and finally giving it your attention and discovering I've been eating this garbage my whole life.
So, yeah, I mean, when we do things automatically versus doing things consciously.
Yeah.
So, so that's one difference, the change, the shift that happens. Getting all worked up and being overwhelmed to just stepping back and letting it be.
Hmm.
Just for now, not forever, but just for now. That makes it easier. Being kind to ourselves, not be so hard on yourself. Okay, you made a mistake. A lot of times we hold ourselves to higher standards. Uh, love thy neighbor, or forgive someone else, but we don't forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you can be kind to someone else, why can't you be kind to yourself?
Oh, you should be kind to yourself first.
Yeah, yeah. But also, the other side of that coin is that if you can be kind to someone else, and if you view yourself as someone else taking the self out,
Hmm. Yeah. If you
then
can be
you
kind.
can be kind, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, all these different concepts,
These
when you
attitudes.
experiment attitudes, you change one, the others will change.
Yeah.
So
These are
they feed into each other.
these are attitudes around stress.
Yeah,
You mentioned kind of a non-judgmental stance, curiosity, open beginner's mind, open-mindedness. We
yeah,
talked about a bunch of different attitudes around experience,
yeah.
things that can help the negative stress become eustress, which is good stress.
Good stress.
We need stress.
Yeah,
Stress is a part of life,
part of life,
part of
and it's
growing.
part of growing and learning. Yeah,
Yeah. If you're not feeling stressed,
yeah,
you're probably not
right.
excelling or
Yeah. So,
advancing.
so just understanding when you cross that line, when you go to the overwhelmed state, and then that's when you pause, that's when you breathe, you practice your stop or
Yeah.
rain, and options will emerge, and you will find out, maybe you'll stop and get a cup of tea or take a walk or
Hmm.
pet your dog or whatever.
Well, what we probably do is we put in positive tools. I was raised in a very traumatic environment. And I think that's what's led me to be a seeker, someone who's, you know, trying to heal myself and then give back in some way with the show and other things. But my original tools for navigating overwhelm was really distraction, whether it was
Yeah.
drugs or alcohol or,
Yeah.
just shutting down or avoidance
Yeah.
or dissociation
Right.
through all kind of different
Yeah.
tools. And all of those took me further away from my body,
Yeah.
further away from the type of health that allows the body to heal, that
Mhm.
allows the mind to heal.
Yeah.
So these tools for me, the MBSR was providing some healthy coping strategies or resources to regulate
Yeah.
my body and my mind.
Yeah.
Because, the trauma that one experiences when they're a child is that first arrow,
Yeah.
and you could shoot yourself with an arrow the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Just arrow after arrow. And I think a lot of folks in America and probably all around the world
All
do
around the
that.
world. Yeah.
We have a lot of addiction. We have a lot of, whether it's with food,
Yeah.
it the substance or the pathway to this is, you know,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Right. Right.
But I think the cure is this healthy movement, breathing,
Hmm.
awareness into your body,
Yeah.
taking a step
Right.
back.
Yeah. Because if you stay in the overwhelmed state long enough, then it becomes chronic,
Yeah,
never goes away. And your threshold is already so high that just a little bit you add to it and you are off.
you're in it
And then you are going to
because
go.
you're always
It,
kind of subtly in it.
yeah. And
Because
then you,
rumination and
instead of pausing and coming back, you go further
Mhm.
and then you enter the danger zone. And that's what happened to you
Yeah,
when you do maladaptive coping,
right.
drug or alcohol,
Mhm.
or not caring,
Yeah.
not thinking, doing whatever,
Doing just like
you know
dangerous or
yeah.
just having a bunch of impulsive behaviors that aren't
Right.
really in your best interest.
Yeah.
You kind of need to
So that's the thing, to know when you are crossing the eustress and going to the overwhelm,
Mhm.
pausing, breathing, you're doing your stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 questions.